Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are joined here once again by Penny Harris. Very excited to have her here. The name of the company is Renewable Philanthropy, LLC. And of course, she's the CEO and founder. We're excited to have her here because she really has developed a new way of fundraising, and she's helped so many, and she continues to help so many out there. So we want to welcome you back to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I appreciate it. I love to talk about fundraising.
I know you clearly have a passion for it and so much experience. So for those new
Yes.
listeners today and viewers, would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself and the company to start?
Yes. I am Penny Harris, and I have been fundraising for over 30 years. I've done a lot of different jobs, from volunteer to director to campaign director to consultant, and now I'm a fundraising coach because I want to help lift fundraisers' skills so that they can do the work better than I could have done it in the past. And I work with fundraisers and in conjunction with their CEOs.
And you talk about bringing back the joy into fundraising and to getting people excited about helping and coming back each and every year. Do you want to talk a little bit about the mission of your work specifically?
Yes, because it is about the joy of giving. We all get that somewhere. And I think everybody listening to think about what it was like for them to give a gift, or maybe what their first gift was, because I was thinking of mine, and I remember I don't know, I wasn't very old, maybe 7 or 8 or 10 or something like that. And my father was giving me a 25-cent allowance. This was a long time ago.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
25-cent allowance. And I could have 25 cents if I put 5 cents in church plate every Sunday. So that was really because somehow I still remember when they would pass the plate down the aisle, and I would put my little nickel in the plate, and it just felt good, it felt like that. So I want other people to have that same kind of joy for helping. I don't know what that nickel did, but I know that I was helping along with everybody else. And I think that's the joy of fundraising.
Great. And you really work on people building that can work together, that spirit of giving and joy. And that's what makes you so successful. And you've been doing this now for how long?
Oh, at least 35 years.
Wow. Wow. And so you clearly are committed to the company. And could we talk specifically about some of the work that you've done and that you're doing?
It's been a lot, but
we have 25 minutes. We got some time.
Wow, where do I start? I have this company. When I wrote the vision and mission and all of that, I realized this week that I had written that 10 years ago. And I have been, I think, somewhat slow developing it. But I am working with clients to help them get used to thinking about people as human beings. When we accept a gift, when we ask for a gift and we're only focused on the gift, we really dissociate the humanness that people have when they're giving, because they give money, but really it's like the little girl in church. She's just giving her heart, and the money doesn't make any difference. And I think that is so true about fundraising. We do so much to focus on the money. And so my work is to work with people to comfort them in the fact, first of all, we're all generous and we're all want to share. Some people share their time, and in my business, we're asking people to share both to some extent, time, but definitely money to help. And money is what we need, but we also need the donors to commit and that they're human. And I was thinking this morning that lots of times relationships, and I know I'm throwing a whole lot here, but relationships are different depending on how we think about it. For example, we can see the donor as a caring human being who is helping. And then we can see the donor as a commodity, and we see their money, and the donor kind of wanders away. Like you pick a strawberry and you don't keep the leaves and the branch, you just eat the strawberry, okay? It's kind of like that. And I think we really need to be thinking about that. And so my work, working with clients, working, with small groups and talking with people to try to generate some interest in taking some steps forward to let's see our people as human and keep them. The big thing of renewable philanthropy is to keep the donors year after year after year engaged and having a good experience serving the beneficiaries of that mission, but also serving the community because that mission lives in that community.
Got it.
No,
absolutely.
do a whole bunch of stuff, but all my work that infiltrates all of my work. And I will make a comment about fundraising inside a not-for-profit is really a for-profit program. So we need to be thinking about our donors as like customers. And the more we keep them, the better it is for the organization, for the mission, etc. And if you think of, like, I was comparing it in my mind to, let's say, a financial management company.
Okay.
They want to keep, they're dealing with money. They're helping people manage their money, invest their money, and it's all about money. But it isn't. It's about what that customer wants to do. And that financial planner wants to keep that customer, because looking for new ones is a lot harder than working with the one you already have and you already know. And I think fundraising, in some extent, you can make that kind of comparison. You are dealing with money, but you are working with the community and serving the community. And so you want to keep that donor involved in your mission.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And can I ask specifically what types of organizations, can you name some of them specifically that you do work with and have great relations with all these years?
I have worked with hospitals. I've worked with schools. I've done volunteer work with universities. I have helped with animal rescue. I worked with fundraiser and CEO with an animal rescue. I've worked for Historical Society. Hurricane Island was a favorite client of mine. And let's see, I worked just recently, I helped the ecology school just south of me in Maine on a capital campaign. They raised over $15 million. And I really was available.
Wow.
I was, and they did it on time. And I was coaching the fundraiser and the CEO, just like I did not do the fundraising. I coached, I was available for strategy sessions when they wanted them. We did planning together. I was there when the fundraiser needed me to help him move forward, and as a coach does. And I like that much, much better. I worked with a hospital last year, helping them put an annual fund program together and helping the fundraiser kind of get her role in the organization a little bit stronger and more informed. Excuse me. Yeah.
Wow. And your passion for all this, how did it develop? We have new listeners here. Could you just talk a little bit about that? I know as a child you started this. And then how did it work to end up becoming the CEO of your own company? And not just, yeah, that's impressive.
When you put it that way, I kind of, yeah. It started because much like the times of today, it was the Equal Rights Amendment. It was political community action, electing school board members. And I was new in the community and I wasn't meeting anybody and I wanted to. And I thought, how am I going to vote if I don't know? So I ended up being quite involved with the League of Women Voters for about 10 years and actually got up to the national board and worked at that level. And I just thought fundraising was part of it. But as a volunteer, the fundraising is different. But I felt so comfortable and donors were so happy to be parts of these activities that didn't exist in the community before. So we had forums, debates, discussions with candidates, and the candidates liked it. They got to have some exposure to the community. And the league itself was non-partisan, so we didn't take sides and we didn't advocate for any candidate.
Mhm.
So we were pretty comfortable doing that. And so that's how I started. My first job was when my daughter was going to college and I was on my way to getting a divorce. I got a job at public broadcasting in Maine and was responsible for building a business program. This was a underwriting. Now it's big, but back then when I first started with them, it was very small and they had something like $70,000. And in 3 years, I had lifted it to over 350,000 from businesses underwriting programs. And it was just fun for me. I just met so many people that I never would have met otherwise. And I could help them get something. And and this is what I learned too, because people would say how much they liked the businesses that underwrote their program. So if there was some news program like Washington Week that they watched,
Yep.
then they would say to me, I like that company. Thank you for them underwriting the program. So I'd share it back with them and they realized too that this was a good thing in the community. So you can see it was just a sense of helping and building better relationships in the community. And I think when we have generosity in the community, we've got a better community. We're helping each other. We're not fighting with each other.
And what other aspects of your work and accomplishments of getting people to be generous, to be giving, to be kind, do you want to share with us?
Yeah, I have so many things. I was thinking this morning, I was doing a pre-campaign study. This is a story about how donors really care. And I had interviewed this couple. They had been longtime donors for this organization. And they shared with me that they wanted to give, but they were concerned about the executive director. He'd been there for a long time.
Okay.
They were worried. Everybody liked him. They were worried that the transition he was putting too much on his plate. And that's what this money would give him a whole lot more responsibility. They were not sure, given all the years and the history with the organization, he could do that. So and they didn't want to tell anybody. That's why they told me. And I think that's why they would share things with a fundraiser. So I sat on it for a few days and then I decided to go to the chair of the board. And I told him I had an issue from one of the donors I wanted to talk to him with. And he did. We had a long conversation. I was able to give some perspective. And from there, he made a plan. And there was a transition that made that donors were comfortable. And then the campaign was after that, rather than trying to put that in the middle of big change. So I learned a lot about organizations and leadership and how people will come together to work. Yeah.
And now for all these years, how do you keep the relationships going? How do you continue to, develop the relationships and keep growing and growing, and the hearsay and the people telling their friends and inviting their family? How does that all work? Do you have dinners? Do you have little parties, gatherings? How do you keep everyone in the loop?
All of it. No, I think a lot of it is to really plan and have a system, which is what my mission-centered fundraising does. And I have to say that I'm still bringing this out and talking to people. People are not totally, they're so used to having the money. They're so used to focusing on the money. Donors are more of a commodity than they are a caring person. And it's not the fundraiser's fault per se, nor is it the ED's fault. It's really the system and the way our community feels about money.
Yep.
And so working with people to try to get comfortable with just this whole sharing and giving. And I mentioned last time how much easier it is for people to give than it is to receive. And of course, the organization is receiving. So depending on the money philosophy the leadership has, that impacts, the fundraising. And just for an experiment, I did a little piece of my workshop. I went around the room and I gave everybody $1. I just handed it to them. Here's $1. This is for you today. And I told them what I wanted to do is to see what kind of feeling they had when I gave them that $1. And I said, you don't have to tell me, you don't have to say anything, and I could see around the room what people were becoming aware of. And I have to tell you that at the end of that workshop, every single person rejected that $1. Most of them gave it to the organization they were with. It was just $1. They went and they gave it to them, or they left it on the table and I had to pick it up as I left.
Wow.
But they wouldn't take it. So I haven't followed up much on that, but I think about that in terms of how hard it is to accept. And I was thinking this morning, people listening and you and the other people with the organization, if you ever wanted to try an experiment, you could call an organization that you like the mission. If you like animals, call an animal one, call something that you care about, a mission, and ask to speak to the fundraiser. And then tell the fundraiser you're thinking about making a gift, but you don't know, and you don't know how much. You just want to find out about the organization. I can tell you that doesn't happen that often, but it would be fun for you, I think, and it would be interesting for the fundraiser to get such a call and see what happens. Every fundraiser is going to handle that differently. But if you're calling out of really wanting to make some kind of, I don't care if the gift is $25 or $50 or $1,000, it doesn't make any difference. What it does is I think it helps the fundraiser in this humanness. Suddenly somebody's calling and they want to just talk about, learn about, and because they like the mission and they want to learn about it.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about that. I may do that myself. I feel a little guilty when I have to admit that I'm a fundraiser, but yeah, I think it's breaking down that focus on money and just making it human. We're
Yeah.
really human to human.
Yeah, that's
And
your hashtag. I was reading that before because I also want to point out like there's someone here, her name is Helen. She's the CEO from the YMCA of Southern Maine. And she wrote that I valued my work with Penny because her approach to philanthropy is about genuine connection of donors to the cause of the organization. And it's great to hear such amazing reviews like that.
oh, she wrote to you?
No, this is on your site. I was reading
Oh,
some of
yes,
your
right.
reviews. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a wonder. I enjoyed her so much. She was a client. Yes, I did work with the Y. And she was serious. She wanted to have relationships, and she was finding losing donors. A lot happens. She was doing what everybody does traditionally, is they think that the board member is supposed to ask for the money. And what she found is when the board member left the board, then the donor left and didn't support anymore. And she didn't have a relationship with the donor. The donor's relationship was with the board person. So we worked on ways that they could have a relationship with her. So when the board member left, she would still have a relationship with the donor to keep that support. And the donor probably would want to do that too. So yeah, she was great to work with. That was fun.
Do you want to share any other of the experiences of other people that you've worked with?
Um, I've had both, good and bad. But I have to say, most of the people that I've worked with, I will share a negative one though. For me, on my side, it was when the president of the organization I was a fundraiser said to me, "Oh, Penny just begs for money."
Mm.
Yeah. So there was nothing I could do because that's the way he looked. That's why
Yeah.
I learned that it isn't about me. It's about how he saw money and how he saw generosity wasn't, he didn't see it and that's where accepting the money is so hard. That was probably a story more about his inability to accept money than
Yeah,
it was anything else.
absolutely. You're
He
right.
was
Yeah.
an excellent president. There wasn't anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
It was that he wasn't comfortable with fundraising. And I find that's true, but lots of times when they build a relationship with their fundraiser, that can be eased, because overall, I think we're comfortable with the money. That's our job. It's just we adjust and learn and pay attention to what people, how they want to interact with you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But people have lots of ideas about fundraising that I would like to change so
Yeah.
that everybody could enjoy, giving. And yeah, it's bringing the donor in, and I think the fundraisers, it's about learning not to disassociate the donor from the money, but the donor is deciding to make that gift. It's the donor's desire to help. The money is just like, it's just the way you're doing it. Like if you got to go to the grocery store, chances are you're going to get in your car, and the car is just the thing that gets you to the grocery store to do what you want to do. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Great point.
Yeah. So yes, and I've served on lots of boards where I've been a part of asking, but not the same thing as a fundraiser. I've tried to stay away from asking when I think it doesn't serve the organization as much, but I will open doors and set up conversations. And I really like to meet with, if somebody has any interest at all in talking further, to to email me. We can schedule a call and we can do an assessment to see where they are and move forward. I really help again with the individual donor programs so that they can keep the current donors and continue to build their capacity of individual support ongoing, which is renewable.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And we still have just 4 minutes left here, Penny. So I want to make sure you're covering everything that you wanted to get out today.
I think so. I just think that it's really valuing people's desire to help, and that, yes, you have to thank them for the money legally, but I don't think it's more about thanking them for their commitment, knowing, why do you care about this mission? One of my negative feelings is when I see people's name on the side of a building or naming a building or a center just for money, and to me, it just tells the whole community how much money that person did. But I think buildings can be named after people who gave their life for the mission, who worked, who were served on the board, who did real active community. I think the money is support. It's helpful. I think the donors need to be seen for their caring and their involvement, and to keep them involved, to see them as human, caring people, because we stay where we're wanted. We stay where we know we're helping and it's meaningful to us.
Yeah, beautifully said. And if someone does want to reach out to you, let's talk about the forms of contact for you.
Yes, my email is penny@renewablephilanthropy.com. I have a pretty strong profile on LinkedIn, and I can be direct messaged from LinkedIn, and phone number is 207-232-0761.
And for people out there who may be like that one person you ran into who didn't understand the concept of fundraising, obviously, and generosity, what that means, what would you say to those out there who maybe not so familiar with it? How do you want to leave the show today? What would you like to say to them?
I would say, if you're scared you're not going to have the money, if you're a CEO or you're a fundraiser who feels that your CEO wouldn't accept this, because some of them wouldn't, to give me a call anyway. Share with me that you're having trouble in your organization and how do you talk, because I'm willing to have a meeting with the fundraiser and the CEO, and let's just talk about what the issues are. They'll take an assessment of your individual donor program, and then you decide. Calling me isn't a commitment. It's just a discovery. I call it a discovery call.
Great.
That you can just learn what you need to learn. If you don't like it, then fine. Thank you. And that's it.
Great, Penny. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, for being here, and looking forward to the next time we connect. You have a great day. Happy fundraising to you, and enjoy the rest of the week.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.